So in today's video we will create this character explainer animation inside of After Effects without using any third-party plugin but with the help of Adobe Illustrator and Adobe After Effects. So without wasting any more time, let's get started. So here we are in Adobe Illustrator. I have got this illustration from FreePic. I have provided you the link in the description. So first thing we will do, we will create another Illustrator file. Height width is 1920 by 180. So I'll hit Ctrl A to select all of them, then Ctrl C to copy them and go to this Illustrator file and press Ctrl V to paste it. And by holding Alt, I'll increase the size. Hold Alt Shift to resize it like that. Now as you can see, we have each and every subject separate. So now we have to move them on the separate layer. So I'll select this book first. I'll hit Ctrl X to cut it. Then from here I'll create a new layer and then I'll press Ctrl Shift V to paste in place and I'll hide this. Then I'll select this boy. Then I'll hit Ctrl X, new layer, and press Ctrl Shift V. First thing we need to do is that we want each and every subject on the separate layer. So I'll select this line, I'll hit Ctrl X, new layer, press Ctrl Shift V and hide it. Same thing I'll do for this laptop. I'll move this over here on top of our character. Then I'll select these books, hit Ctrl X, create new layer, press Ctrl Shift V and hide it. Now these are some beige elements, so I'll hit Ctrl X, new layer, and press Ctrl Shift V and I'll bring them down and I'll hide them. Now this thing is already on the separate layer. Now as you can see, all of our things are on each and every separate layer. So I'll hide these things for now. We will start from the first. As you can see, we have these books but all of them are in one. So right click and ungroup them. So now as you can see, we can select separately all these books. But what we will do, we will go over here, we will click on this arrow. As you can see, we have 5 groups over here and we want them on the separate layer. So I'll select this layer 2 and over here as you can see we have this circular option. Then we will click on it, then we will go over here, then I'll choose release to layer sequences and I'll click on it. So as you can see, these groups are now layers. By holding shift, I'll select them and I'll bring them at the top and I'll delete this extra layer. So now all of them are on the separate layers and I'll hide them. Now we will see our laptop. We don't need to change anything in laptop, so I'll not gonna change anything. Now then we will have this character. Now we want their hand and head separate. So first thing we will do, right click and ungroup, then again click on it. We need to do ungroup again. Now as you can see, this is a separate selection. So hit Ctrl X and create a new layer, press Ctrl Shift V and double click on this layer 13. I'll call this layer as head. Then select this, right click and again ungroup. Then I'll select this, right click, ungroup. We will do this procedure until we will get this separate selection. So as you can see, we have this glasses. So I'll hit Ctrl X, new layer, press Ctrl Shift V to paste in place, double click on it and type glasses, hit OK and I'll hide this. Select this eyes. As you can see, all of them are selected. So right click, ungroup, select both of them, press Ctrl X, new layer, press Ctrl Shift V, select these eyebrows, press Ctrl X, create a new layer, press Ctrl Shift V and with the help of selection tool I'm gonna select this mouth. So hit Ctrl X, new layer and press Ctrl Shift V and we will name the respective layers. Just like that. As you can see, all of them are now on the separate layers. Now I want this hand and this book separated. So I'll select this hand, hit Ctrl X, right click, new, press Ctrl Shift V and I'll call this layer as hand and hit OK and I'll hide this. I'll select this book, I'll hit Ctrl X, new layer, press Ctrl Shift V and we'll call this layer as book. Then I'll select this hand, I'll hit Ctrl X, and after this layer 3 I'll select this layer 4, and then I'll create a new layer, so it will come down, and then I'll press Ctrl Shift V and I'll call this as hand 2, and select this layer 3, I'll call this layer as chest. So now all of them are on the separate layer, so I'll hide them. Then we will unreveal. This is just a simple line, so I'll call this thing as line only, and we will hide this. Then this is our bookshelf, so right click, ungroup. As you can see, these are still not separated, so again right click, ungroup. Yep, now we'll go over here. As you can see, all of them are on a separated layer, so click on this icon, then click on this release two layer sequences. By holding shift, I'll select them and bring them at the top. So because of that, all of those things are on separate layer now. But if you see over here that all of them are at this, not at the same layer but at the different layer, even though this is the one book. So to get rid of it, I'll select all those things and I'll hit Ctrl G to group it, and we will delete these extra layers. So now this is the one book only. So I'll hide this thing also now because we are done with that. Then we will have to focus on this one. As you can see, there are so many things in this. Right click, ungroup, and let's see what we have. So as you can see, all of them are separated, so click on this option, then click on this option, then release two layer sequences. By holding shift, select all of them and bring them at the top, and delete this extra layer and unhide these things. Hit Ctrl 0 to fit this thing, and now I'll unhide all of them and I'll save my file. So now all the layers are on the separate layer. Now all we need to do, we need to go to the After Effects and we have to animate it. So I will open After Effects, new composition. I'll call this as main animation with 1920 by 180 because our Illustrator file format is also same, and frame rate is 30 and duration is 10 seconds, and background color I'll choose white color and hit OK and hit OK. Choose grid and guide option and hit title safe action, and in project window I'll hit Ctrl I to import my Illustrator file. I'll select this untitled one, which is our same Illustrator file as you can see. Then I'll select this file in import as. Instead of footage, I'll use composition, return layers and sizes. So because of that, each and every component will be on the separate layer, and I'll hit import like that. So as you can see, we have this Illustrator file over here. We will bring this in our main animation comp and simply double click. So as you can see, we have this black color at the background. To get rid of it, I'll hit Ctrl K to open our project settings, and instead of black color, I'll choose white color and simply hit OK and hit OK. Now we have to animate each and everything step by step. So I'll select this, what we have, books first. As you can see, this is my books, so I'll select them. I'll press Ctrl Shift C and I'll call this comp as books and hit OK, and we will hide this for now, and we'll lock this also. This is a laptop which is a single thing, so we don't need to create a whole composition for that. So for what we will do, I'll select this, I'll hit enter, and I'll call this as laptop like that. But this thing is related to with this character, so for that what we'll do, we will select all the layers which are related to this character, like from laptop to hand to, let's see, yeah, and press Ctrl Shift C, and we'll call this as character. Oops, double click on it, hit Ctrl key to project settings, composition settings, and I'll delete this line. So this is my character. I'll lock this and I'll hide this. This is just a single line, so we don't need to do anything with that. This is our book, this is our BG wall, so I'll hit enter. I'll call this as BG wall and I'll hide it, and then I'll lock it. Then this is my bookshelf. Again, I'll press Ctrl Shift C and I'll call this as books 2. Lock this and hide this. This is all those things I'll select. I'll press Ctrl Shift C. I'll call this as dream. just like that. Now as you can see, our all things are on separate layers, so we will animate this thing one by one. So we will animate this line first. So I'll select this line, I'll unlink this, I'll create one keyframe over here, and I'll go to around 1 second only, and again create another keyframe. Go to the start by pressing J, and let's make it 0. Select those keyframes and hit F9 and link this option again. Go to the graph editor, select this graph by holding shift. I'll move this handle over here and this handle over here. If I select this option, and let's see, we will get something like that. So this is our line. Now we need to animate our books. So how we can animate, let's see. Select those books, press P for position, create one keyframe, press S for scale option, create one keyframe, and then press R for rotation and create one keyframe. Now we will do the bouncing animation. So let's see how we can do. First we will animate this scale, so I'll press S for scaling option. As you can see, we have created one scale over here. Go to around 15 frames and again create one keyframe. Go to the start and let's make it 0. Now press P for position. Now go to around 1.15 frames and again I'll create one keyframe. In middle of them, I'll move those things at the top. Now this science book is at the top, so I'll select this position keyframe of this science book. I'll hit Ctrl C. I'll select all the composition and I'll hit Ctrl V to copy the position. Go to the start like that. Yep, so now this is my math book which is at the bottom. So now we will go to the start again and I'll select this keyframe, hit Ctrl C, select all the keyframes above at the start and press Ctrl V. So this is gonna be the position of each and every book. Now I'll press R for rotation. As you can see, we have created one keyframe over here. Hit U, go at this point and create one rotation for each and every book. So if you see, we will get something like this, but this is just a normal animation. Now we have to play around with the graph editor. So initially we will play around with the scaling options. So press S only to reveal the scaling options. Scaling keyframes. Select those keyframes, hit F9, go to the graph editor, select this graph, and by holding shift I'll move this thing over here. So we'll get this scaling option. Now we will play around with the position. Press P, select those keyframes, hit F9, go to the graph editor, select this middle one. By holding shift I'll move this over here. Select this graph, by holding shift move this over here like that. Now select those at the end position graphs and move this over here. Select this one and move this over here. Now if you see, we will get something like that. Now press R for rotation. Select those keyframes, hit F9, go to the graph editor, select this graph. By holding shift I'll move this thing over here and this thing over here. So as you can see, we will get something like this. Now as you guys know that this math should be animated first, then this one. Now after this yellow book, this one should be bounce, so I'll move this thing over here, then this English one, and at the last this science one. So move this thing over here. So select this and bring this thing at the top, and let's see, we will get something like this. So hit F4, hit Ctrl A to select all of them, and we will enable this motion blur option, so we will get some motion blur in this animation. Now we will animate this character. So we will do a simple animation. So first thing we need to do, we need to select this head, then press Y to select our pen behind tool, and we will move this anchor point over here. Select all, oops, hit enter, and let's call this as mouth. Then select all these things up to the glass and make it parent with this head like that. Now we will lock this glass layer because we need to animate those eyes and mouth. So I'll select this eyes, I'll hit Ctrl D to duplicate it, hit enter. I'll call this as eye mask. Select this eyes and go to the track matte and choose alpha matte. Select this mask, press P for position, create one keyframe, go to around, let's say, 15 frames, and again create one keyframe, and in middle of it I'll choose my selection tool and I'll move this thing over here like that, and again I'll create another keyframe, select those keyframes, hit F9, alt click on the stopwatch, type loop out expression on it like that. Now we will select those eyebrows, press P for position, create one keyframe, go few frames forwards, again create another keyframe, go to the start and I'll move this thing over here, go to the end, again create one keyframe, select those keyframes, hit F9, select this loop out expression, hit Ctrl C to copy, alt click on the stopwatch and hit Ctrl V. So we'll get this kind of looping animation for this one. Now select this mount, press S for scaling option, create one keyframe over here, go few frames forwards and bring down the scale, go few frames forwards and copy the initial frame, press Ctrl C, Ctrl V, select those keyframe, hit F9, select this loop out expression, hit Ctrl C to copy, alt click on the stopwatch and hit Ctrl V. So if you see this, we will get something like that. Now select this head, press R for rotation, then hit W to choose this rotating tool and I'll rotate it a little bit like this, create one keyframe, go to 1 second, move this head ahead, go to 2 seconds, copy initial keyframe, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, select those keyframe, hit F9, alt click on the stopwatch and type loop out expression on it. So we'll get this continuous animation. I'll move this to fit. Same thing we will do for this hand, press Y for pen, selecting pen behind tool, move this anchor point over here, select this book and make it parent with this hand, select this book and move this anchor point over here. Now select this hand and press R for rotation, hit W and rotate it something like that and create one keyframe, go to 1 second, rotate it like that, go to 2 seconds, hit Ctrl C, Ctrl V, the first keyframe, select those keyframe, hit F9 first, then I'll select this book, rotate it like that, press R for rotation, create one keyframe, move ahead, rotate it like this, go ahead, hit Ctrl C, Ctrl V, the first keyframe, hit F9, alt click on the stopwatch, type loop out expression, hit Ctrl A to select this, hit Ctrl C to copy this, alt click on the stopwatch and hit Ctrl V. And now we will select this book and we will move this layer like that. So we will get this secondary action over here. We don't need to animate the second hand now. So this is our character. So our book animation is done, a character animation is also done. Then we need to animate these books. So for that, what we will do, I'll select this thing, press P for position, create one keyframe, go to 1 second, again create one keyframe, go to the start and I'll move this thing over here, select those keyframe, hit F9, go to the graph editor, select this graph by holding shift, move this over here like that. Now select this book, press Y to select pen behind tool, I'll move this anchor point over here, press R for rotation and I'll rotate it like that, something like this, zoom in a little bit and move this anchor point at the corner of this book, select the selection tool and move this thing over here. Now let's see how we can animate it with a little bit creativity. I'll select all these books. Now we will press P for position, I'll create one keyframe over here, go to around 1 second maybe and again create another keyframe, go to the start and move those books over here. Then after that again create one keyframe and in middle of it move them over here. Now select those keyframe, hit F9, go to the graph editor, select this graph by holding shift, I'll move this handle over here, select this and move this handle over here. Now we will select this graph, move this handle over here and this handle over here. So if you see now, we will get this kind of bounciness. Now we will select all the keyframes, hold Alt and move these things over here like that. Now go few frames forwards and I'll move them over here with the help of open bracket, and I'll adjust them like that. Now select this. Now at this point press R for rotation, create one keyframe, and now we will make it 0. Select those keyframes, hit F9, go to the graph editor, select this graph by holding shift and move this over here and move this handle over here like that. So if we see this animation now, we'll get something like this. Or you can simply hit W and rotate it a little bit. So if you see now, our book animation is also done. Now we have this one BG wall, so press P for position, create one keyframe over here, go to 1 second, again create another keyframe, go to the start, and we will bring this wall from here. Select those keyframes, hit F9, go to the graph editor, select this graph by holding shift, we'll move this thing over here just like that. Now we have to animate this stream, so for that I'll select this last one, enable this thing, go to the effect and presets and search for one effect called turbulence displace, and I'll click on this evolution tab and type time into 40. So we'll get this bubbly effect over here like that. Now select this bubble, press Y for pen behind tool and move this anchor point over here, press S. Initially I'll make it 0, go to around 1.15 frames and let's make it 100. Select those keyframes, hit F9, go to the graph editor, select this graph by holding shift, move this thing over here like that. Now select all the other elements, go to the effect and presets panel and search for wiggle position and simply double click to apply that effect like. Now press S for scaling option, create one keyframe, go to the 1 second, again create another keyframe, go to the start and let's make it 0. Select all the keyframes, hit F9, go to the graph editor, select this graph and by holding shift I'll move this thing over here. Now hit page down button 2 times, Alt, close bracket, right click, go to the keyframe assistant and sequence layers and hit OK and move this thing like that. So we'll get something like this. Now all the things are done. If you see in our main animation, I'll unhide all of them. We will have this character still here, so press P for position, create one keyframe, go to 1 second, again create another keyframe, go to the start and bring it down. Select those keyframes, hit F9, go to the graph editor, select this graph by holding shift, move this handle over here, and then we will create one mask with the help of rectangle tool. I'll create this mask, bring it over here, select this character and choose alpha matte. Select this character, hit U again and bring it downwards. So we will get something like this, a simple animation. Now go to the main animation, press S for scaling option. Initially let's make it 90, create one keyframe, around 6 seconds, let's make it 100.